So you're struggling with your art and you want to improve it, but it's getting a little bit difficult because you don't know where to go or what tips could help push it forward. I learned a few new tips that I'm willing to share. Um, I have 5 new tips that I learned as a game art student with a diploma with animation, and I am willing to share them. And I'll be doing that in this video. It'll be amazing, it'll be great, and it'll be educational, and it'll be fun. And I feel like it could help a lot of new, well, not new. It doesn't, you don't have to even be new. It's just some things that I learned and I want to share. So I'm gonna do that. Segway. So I have 5 tips for today. Um, First tip, 3D proxies. Now, as you can see here, I'm struggling. I recorded this before I did the voiceover, but I'm just doing the lineup. But as you see, the floaty is a 3D object, and I use 3D proxies now because um, it makes it easier for doing objects in perspective. It also saves a lot of time. I've realized that after being taught by a particular lecturer, and I am incredibly grateful for him, and I think I shall share it here as well, because a lot of artists tend to punish themselves, and it makes no sense to punish yourself by doing everything in perspective when you're working in a digital age. I mean, it has AI coming out here to like steal your jobs and all of that. So now you see I'm doing line art over the 3D proxy, so I could do a replacement of it. It's just so I can get a guide of how things should go into perspective, and honestly, it reduces all of the guesswork that I would spend typically on like doing perspectives and spending all of the time on that. I mean, it's all fine and good and all of that when you're doing it in 2D, but when you're using it in on a computer or on a tablet or something, it saves a lot of time. You could use something like ZBrush, that's what I used. But you could also use stuff like Blender, Maya, etc. It doesn't really matter as long as you can just get the basis for what object you're trying to make. Maybe in the future I'll do something on proxies alone, but otherwise, like, that's pretty much it. I also used a stock photo, as you can see in the background, well, when it was up. Um, I used a stock photo of the beach, and it has many stock photo websites. They allow for free use of stock photos, and I turned it into grayscale and I blended the sand to make it look like waves. It reduces again the amount of work that you'd have to do, spend more time doing stuff that you actually enjoy drawing, and it just makes things easier. The key here is to make things easy on yourself so you could actually enjoy what you're doing more, and your art will improve because you're enjoying it. Um, Now I'm working in grayscale and doing um, my line art. I don't really have much tips here with line art. Um, I don't really like doing line art very much. I do it when I know I absolutely need to for stuff like this. But outside of that, I don't really do line art. Um, it's something that is incredibly exhausting for me to do, and I don't know why I even bother with doing it still. I guess it's because I don't like doing soft renders on everything all the time. Um, but working in grayscale, I do that to ensure like I get the values right. Sometimes it's usually whenever I do it is when I don't feel like doing any um, line work as much, or if I want to spend extra time to get all the values right, and anything else that I need to like zero in on. Line art is something that I don't I don't have as much to talk about with. I kind of just go in and I do things like I, it's line art. Sometimes I'll go in and I'll add a little bit of like you see as I'm adding in like the hair. I like to follow the movement of everything. Like movement is something that's really important to me, especially with my hair and stuff. Like stylistically, I like to add little dashes to like show the hair texture and all of that. Um, Next step would be rendering. Now I'm still okay. Yeah. I'm looking at the recording. I add in my base colors, and I usually start off with that. And I start off with like some flat cell shading. I keep things as basic as I can get them typically. So you're seeing here as I block in all the flats while using my references of my model. This is actually for my banner for my starting soon for summertime. So, yeah. A lot of this requires a lot of patience, and I know the people that would probably find this video are younger artists that are trying to improve themselves and improve their art. Um, just take things in strides and be patient with yourself, because that is another one of my tips. Requires a lot of patience. This video is sped up. I spent days working on this. Honestly, like it came out good because I took my time. I gave myself breaks. I allowed myself to just breathe while I was working on it. As you can see, I'm placing down like all of the cell shading, and I'm also adding like highlights and like mid-tones. I'm not blending it in yet. You don't want to rush and blend everything in. You just want to make sure that you get like the positioning of where everything is, especially if you're not working in like full grayscale like I did. I just jumped from a gray background to color immediately because I did not have the energy to do that when I was doing this. But yeah, then I go in with a soft brush and I blend out all of the hard cell shading that I did to make it look all soft and rendered and blended. I use a smudge tool. I smudge to ensure that everything looks a little bit more cohesive, and I also like to go in and add a little bit of like extra detailing. So like, well, now I'm doing my eyes. Maybe I'll do an eye tutorial thing, though I think it has plenty of those already online. I like to go in with a soft brush, and I add blush to places like the cheeks, the ears, the elbows, everywhere that would typically blush over. What you should be doing more than anything else is actually just giving yourself the space to breathe. I color my line art a reddish brown. I usually do that to give it a more natural feel. I'm also cutting my line art into pieces because I was actually considering animating my starting soon in Life 2D. Also coloring in all of the missing parts, like missing pieces that is not colored in, so I could give it a little bit more solidity for if I were to animate it in Live 2D. It also makes the line art pop a little bit more for all of those missing places that are now like covered and stuff. So this is just me like prepping it for rigging if I were to do rigging. I didn't wind up doing that. Now I'm coloring the stock photo and lighting it with a multiply layer, and I'm also giving it some framing and just a lot of filters and all of that to finish the lighting off and give it a little bit more legroom, more space to breathe. This is the end result. I hope this was helpful and useful.